What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Shook Daddy from Shook Earth Media, and today we're talking about Halo 5 Guardians. Now, I recently watched a playthrough of Halo 5 because I don't own an Xbox One console or an Xbox Series console, so I felt the need to be caught up on the story in the run-up to Halo Infinite, which I'm extremely excited about, and I just wanted to be caught up on the story so that everything makes sense, and I can put it in the proper context. Now, overarching, I didn't really care for the story all that much, and we're gonna get into my reasons why. Now, there are two parts of this game, two playable characters. You play as a new character known as Spartan Locke, and then you play as, of course, the Master Chief, and you go back and forth between playing these two characters. Now, a lot of people are gonna say, I only want to play Master Chief, and that's it, and I totally understand that point of view, and it's very valid opinion. I do understand why they felt the need to have a new character. Halo as a franchise has been short on characters ever since Halo 3 killed off some of their best. I mean, they killed off Sergeant Johnson and Miranda Keyes and Captain Keyes, and would have been the first person to say that Halo didn't really need a sequel after Halo 3. They finished the fight and they didn't really need to continue on after that. But of course, it's a big franchise, one of Microsoft's flagship franchises going forward, so of course they were going to bring it back after Bungie was done with it, and that only makes sense, and I can't blame them for doing that. However, Halo 4, I didn't particularly care for the Promethean storyline. The Forerunner stuff was kind of cool, but it kind of contradicted what came before it, where the Forerunners are supposed to represent the humans in the past, and they're supposed to be basically just people, and they kind of went back on that, and there's this bill in the didact and all this, and I didn't really find all that very compelling. They had the running storyline of Cortana dying of what's called rampancy. After 7 years, supposedly these AI, they basically go crazy, and they become unusable, and they have to be decommissioned. I didn't know if that was a concept beforehand, but I didn't really think it's all that great of a storyline. I mean, can't they just copy-paste her into a new thing, or fix what's wrong with her, or I don't know. I'm not really into that as a concept. Maybe it's established in the lore. Full disclosure, the only Halo book or anything I've read outside of the Halo games themselves is Fall of Reach, which is an excellent book, but if it's explained in lore elsewhere, that's fine. But I feel like the game should speak for themselves, so that's what I'm judging it based on here. Now, I wasn't into that storyline at the time. It did have an emotional impact, so I did appreciate that, but killing off the character... The thing is that Master Chief, he's cool, he's iconic, I like him a lot, he's a great character to play as, but the truth is he's just a surrogate for the audience. He is the expression of the player. He's not really a character in his own right. He is not supposed to be very talkative. That's one of the other mistakes they made in Halo 5 and Halo 4 in general, is he's just talking way too much. He's supposed to be a man of few words. When he speaks, you're supposed to have a feeling that each word has impact. And there's the occasional one-liner that's kind of funny, but really the clever, interesting character is supposed to be Cortana. That's why they made Cortana. She's a character with personality, she's interesting, she's clever, she's smarter than the player, she's imparting information in an interesting way, and she is the character that Master Chief plays off of. You can't really have one without the other. The dynamic is completely shattered. It just doesn't work, in my opinion, and Master Chief is just not compelling enough on his own. So I think killing off Cortana was a big mistake, and I think 343 agrees with that, because they brought her right back to life, which kind of undercuts the impact, the emotional impact that they had in the last game, which was a strength. I did believe it had emotional impact, and I thought it was, that was the best part. Even though I disagree with that decision, it was the best part of Halo 4's storyline. The new Promethean characters and all that, they're fine as design, they look cool, the weapons are fine, it's just not really that compelling of a storyline. When the Covenant was this big existential threat to humanity, that's a much more compelling storyline than whatever the Prometheans are supposed to represent. So, yeah, because of the lack of characters in the franchise now, I do understand the need to bring new blood into the series. However, I don't think Spartan Locke is it. I don't find him very likable. I mean, he makes the right choices toward the end, but he was really cold at the beginning in a way that even Master Chief, like Master Chief is a silent man, he doesn't say a lot, but he's not standoffish, really. This Spartan Locke guy definitely is, and the rest of the crew, they have a bunch of Spartans following you, and it really feels like it was just for the sake of co-op, to have characters that you play as. And no other Halo game before that, despite having co-op in all of them, none of them felt the need to do that, except for Halo Reach, I suppose. But all this banter and all this stuff, it kind of undercuts the Halo experience, which is to go wandering into a place you don't know and to experience everything firsthand. And, you know, just having people chatting in your ear, the characters weren't all that compelling. I liked Buck in ODST, but his personality seemed to be different, and I am kind of put off by the fact that it feels like anybody can be a Spartan. Just overnight, you just put on the suit and you're a Spartan. It felt to me like a Spartan is supposed to be so much more than that. I mean, Master Chief was raised since birth to be a Spartan, and now just anybody could just put on a suit and become a Spartan. It seems like, why not just give all your soldiers suits at that point? Make all of them Spartans? Why would you have any Marines at that point? It seems a little odd to me, and I really strongly dislike this idea of the mission to be hunting down Master Chief. I really dislike the idea of Master Chief going AWOL. This is a guy bred since a child to obey. He has always followed orders, except for Halo 4, of course, but even then, he disobeyed orders and then got permission after disobeying orders, so he still was, like, above board in a way. It just made that general look like a really weak leader who was letting Master Chief do that, and he's in this game as well, and he also looks like a weak leader here. But I'm really against the idea of Master Chief going AWOL, especially going after Cortana. I mean, I get that he has a kind of connection to her, but he's always been a rational guy. He's not especially emotional. It just seems very odd, and like he doesn't trust the leadership of the UNSC anymore, and he's becoming disloyal, and I really don't like that concept. So setting up this whole game around that idea, I just don't particularly care for it. I don't care for reviving Cortana. I don't care for the fact that she's a villain. I mean, we get some of her motivations a little bit, but the whole thing is she's going after this mantle that's supposed to, it cures rampancy and also it provides eternal life for biological creatures as well. And we don't really see the mechanism for that. We don't get any window into how that happens or what else it can do. It's just like, we just have to take her word for it, and like we don't have any reason why she has become so obsessed with this, why she won't listen to reason or any of that. And it just doesn't work for me at all. I mean, we don't really get any explanation that I find satisfactory that would give credence to any of this. So we have these squad mates, again, that aren't compelling. I don't know why Master Chief doesn't have a new AI at this point. I don't know why his squad is giving him advice. I mean, they're supposed to be like this family and they were raised together. We don't have any proper setup for that. It's just kind of thrown in there as a line of dialogue. I don't understand why they wouldn't question him, why they would agree to just go AWOL and all that. He's like, they can't court-martial all of us. Yeah, they can, actually. So I don't really understand what they're going for here. And Locke just doesn't interest me as a character. Now, some of the most compelling aspects are like really small storylines. You know, we get dropped onto a colony that isn't friendly to UNSC, and we get to see life there. And that's kind of interesting. But it doesn't really make sense because Spartan Locke is dropping into this planet that they know is hostile to the UNSC, but they don't try to communicate with any leadership there before going. They just kind of drop in and expect everything to work out. Not great planning on their part, but that's fine. I mean, they have an AI that's going rampant as well, and that's all good. Now, there's some cool ideas here. They find a Forerunner structure, and there's some mystery there. And these parts of the campaign that have mystery and exploring a new area, those are the best parts. And they have these Guardians, these big robot things that were the Forerunners' way of maintaining power in the galaxy. All that's really cool, and I like those concepts. But it's in service of, again, a story that I just don't really find all that compelling. I mean, we don't have, as I said, we don't have any setup for why Cortana made this big change. And we don't her motivations are still clouded by the end. And just making her a villain, it kind of ruins her as a character for me. So I don't care about her going forward. It's almost like kind of generic. I mean, everything that was compelling about Cortana, her clever quips, her personality, none of that's really present here. It's a whole new character that just has the same face, except she has a new design, which I also don't really care for. But anyways, my favorite part of the game has to be the inclusion of the Arbiter, and we get to see him fighting the Covenant, which, again, I don't really understand why the Covenant is still there. I get that why there might be a civil war and some struggles after the fall of the Covenant, but, like, what's their motivation? Are they following... There's no prophets left, right? So are they trying to activate the Halo ring still? What is their motivation? Why is the Covenant still there? We don't get any real explanation of that, and it probably exists in other Halo lore, but again, I'm judging the game on its own merits, and we don't really see too much of that. But the scenes between the Arbiter and Locke is probably my favorite scene, just because the Arbiter is the only one, like, still in character, it feels like to me. They wrote him exactly how he was, and I really enjoyed seeing that. And but again, Locke's backstory of being a spy and, like, wanting to assassinate the Arbiter, I mean, it all makes sense. But I don't really find him compelling as a character for that reason. I mean, we like the Arbiter. We don't want him to be assassinated, of course. And I was on the Arbiter side in that argument. So, now, like I said, it's my favorite part is seeing the Arbiter in it. But at the same time, it feels completely tangential because it's not really relevant to the main plot at all. It's just kind of like a supplemental thing almost. It was just like a Guardian happens to be on this planet and we're here to get that, and just helping out the Arbiter was just like a side quest. So, again, the colony and going to the elite homeworld, all that's cool and the environments are great, but I again just find them tangential and not really important to the story ultimately. So I would have almost preferred if the Arbiter was our point of view character to start, if they wanted to have a different character and introduce them and not the Master Chief for the whole game. It would have almost been better to discover the Guardians through the Arbiter during his Civil War struggle, and we could have gotten a little more background about that and then led into the story that way. But yeah, ultimately, I'm just not really into the whole Cortana being evil thing, and I don't know. They're probably going to bring her back yet again in the next game, and I don't know. I just don't really care. I have trouble seeing where the story's going to go from here, and the limited things that I've seen from Halo Infinite seem to not really involve this storyline at all. But again, just to sum up, I really dislike Master Chief going AWOL. I feel like it's not something a soldier bred from birth to obey would do. Especially to go after an AI program that's not even a real person, like, he doesn't, I don't really get why he cares that much, and and she's, like, killing people left and right, and he's still, like, all gung-ho about finding her, and, like, I can change her, man, I can change her. Like, what is this, dude? I don't know. It's just really weird, and I forgot to mention that there's a fight between Master Chief and Spartan Locke, which I just found completely laughable, to be honest, because like Locke's people aren't trying to help in any way. They're just like watching from above. And you know, Spartan Locke has this thing that can do the armor lock and stun him so that they can arrest him, and he doesn't use that right away. Why wouldn't you use that as soon as you see John? You know, just as soon as you see him, throw that at him. You know, before he even has a chance to react. That would have been the smart thing to do. And also I forgot to mention, there's like a new villain called the Warden that you fight 1,000,000 times, and the boss battles in Halo have never really been good, so I don't know why they decided to do that. That being said, I really enjoy the character design and the way he talks, and it's a cool character. I do enjoy the character overall, but we don't really understand his motivation that much. I don't know if they go deeper into that or not. And then right at the end, like, just when he's not useful to Cortana anymore, she just, like, snaps her fingers and he's gone. I don't know if he's dead or not. I mean, I guess we'll find out. Or maybe there's other supplemental stuff, Halo universe, that explains that. But he's, like, Cortana's powers in this are just not very well explained. I mean, it seems like she's capable of everything that the plot needs her to be capable of, and nothing more than that. And like she has a physical form now, but also is like able to just teleport, and also like I don't really understand her powers and abilities and what the limits of them are. And I do feel like these big Guardian things, while they're cool, they look really cool, I feel like they're too powerful for you know, the Master Chief to handle. So you know, I don't really understand. We didn't fight any of them. They were just kind of there. So I don't know what that's leading towards. And Infinite feels like a completely separate story to any of this. So I don't know how it's going to relate. But I guess we'll find out. Yeah, and like the whole inciting incident is the Master Chief getting this telepathic communication from Cortana from planets away. And it's not really explained how that happened or why nobody else was able to see it or any of that. None of that was explained. And, I mean, they did a similar thing in Halo 3 where we're getting these communications from Cortana, and Cortana was enveloped in this flood thing, Grave Mind or something, the smart flood thing. And, you know, that was a good storyline in 3, and 4 and 5 just kind of feel like a rehash of that and a lesser version of that. So that's why I don't particularly care for Halo 5 very much. So again, it's not that there's a new character. We need new characters in Halo. It's just Spartan Locke is not it, and the storyline with Master Chief just wasn't great. And going after and the whole AWOL thing, I'm just not into. So at this point, I'm just restating things I already said. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like the storyline, if you don't, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And keep it locked on this channel. We will be live streaming the campaign and some multiplayer stuff. I love Halo, and I'm really looking forward to Infinite, and I hope to experience it with you guys. Alright, if you like videos like this, please subscribe. We talk about movies, TV, video games, all that. So keep it locked on Shook Earth Media. Give us a like and subscribe and all that, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace out, everybody.